You remember it clearly, the image, the detail, the wording. But when you check, it never existed that way. Not slightly different, but completely different. And the disturbing part isn't the mistake, it's the confidence you had while being wrong. Your own brain tricking you. The objective of this video is not to go through a full detailed explanation about these psychological states, but to understand how our society works when it comes to thinking collectively. So, why do millions of people misremember the same thing in the exact same way? This is known as the Mandela Effect. The term was introduced by Fiona Broom after many people claimed to remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 80s, but he didn't. He died in 2013. And there are other common examples like the Monopoly mascot never had a monocle, and the famous line in Star Wars Episode 5, said by Darth Vader, "Isn't Luke, I am your father?" And Pikachu never had a black tip on his tail. It is generally attributed to the reconstructive nature of human memory, where the brain fills in gaps with plausible but incorrect information. Psychologically, this is called a collective false memory. But the real question isn't why memory fails. It is why it fails in synchrony. Well, to start with, memory is not storage, it's reconstruction. Your brain saves fragments, patterns, impressions, and when you recall something, it rebuilds this scene using expectation. This process is linked to predictive processing, the brain constantly predicting what should be there. If a detail fits cultural logic, it slides into place. A wealthy mascot feels incomplete without a monocle. A dramatic movie quote feels unfinished without a name. Your brain prefers coherence over precision. And when millions share similar cultural templates, they generate similar distortions. This is not coincidence, it's shared cognitive architecture. In the past, memory errors were isolated. Now they're networked. You don't just misremember, you discover thousands misremembering with you. And that changes the equation. Because proximity regulates belief. When you see mass agreement, your nervous system reads it as environmental stability. Alignment reduces uncertainty, so your brain stiffens the reconstructed version, not because it's proven, but because it's reinforced. And this is informational compression. The space between your memory and the collective shrinks, and the independence becomes heavier to maintain. And there is a subtle psychological contract at play. Humans regulate themselves socially. Agreement feels safe, disagreement feels costly. Sometimes you'd rather agree with someone not to be rude, or to be the only different one in a group. When a collective memory forms, challenging it creates friction, and friction consumes energy. So most people don't defend their original perception, they adapt quietly. Over time, repetition increases confidence. Not accuracy, but confidence. And once confidence stabilizes, the memory feels real, even if it never was. So it is disturbing because it reveals something structural. Your sense of truth is partially outsourced. You don't just remember individually, you stabilize reality socially. When the group shifts, your perception recalibrates. And for a brief moment, you witness it happening. You see your certainty collapse, you feel the correction, you observe your own fallibility in real time. And that's the actual discomfort, not the error itself, but the loss of ownership. So basically, the Mandela Effect, it's not the evidence of alternate timelines, but the evidence of cognitive design. Reconstructive memory, predictive processing, digital proximity, consensus regulation, none of these are flaws. They're efficient survival systems. They help us to move fast, they reduce uncertainty, they keep us aligned with the group, but they come with a trade-off. Your perception is partially negotiable, not because reality changes, but because your brain optimizes for coherence, and coherence often includes other people. The real question isn't, how do we stop misremembering? You won't. Memory will always reconstruct itself. Consensus will always influence, but you can slow the process down. You can create friction on purpose. When you encounter certainty, especially collective certainty, pause. Ask, did I verify this? Or did I observe it? Is this recall or reinforcement? Am I remembering or aligning? Independent thinking doesn't mean rejecting the group. It means becoming aware of when the group is shaping you. Because the most powerful distortions aren't dramatic, they're subtle. They feel natural, and they feel obvious, they feel shared. And that's exactly why they work. This effect is just a harmless example, but the mechanism behind it scales: logos, quotes, historical events, cultural narratives. The same architecture applies. Once you see that your certainty can be socially stabilized, you start monitoring it, not obsessively but deliberately. You begin asking a quieter question: is this my thought? Or is this a thought that passed through me? And that awareness is the closest thing we have to cognitive independence. No one will be controlling what you think if you think by yourself. Mandela Effect is just an example, but there are many factors inside our society and the way we think about things that can shape us, either bad or good. But thinking by yourself is the first step to realize some things that sometimes are not yours. People are trying to force you to think that way. If you're interested in the hidden psychological systems shaping how you think and what you see, subscribe to my channel. This channel explores the mechanics behind everyday perception. I'm sure you will like it. See you in the next one.